And in the wood yard, I got a couple saws and a pile of logs. How about we do some cutting? Here we go. So yesterday, there was a pile of logs over there, and I moved it over here. And my plan for today is that we're gonna do some cutting. I've got about 3 hours before dark, so I've got a couple saws here, and we're gonna start out cutting these couple crooked snakes, nasty looking pieces of oak here, and then we're gonna start in on that pile. Now this is a pile of mixed stuff, like I said yesterday, on yesterday's video. You were here, so you heard this. If you weren't here, shame on you. But this is a pile of cherry, oak, and some hickory. And I'm gonna cut it all to size now, hand cutting it, because it's all small stuff. I mean, this is some of the bigger pieces, like right here is like a 6-inch piece, but there's a lot of, you know, 4 and 5-inch pieces. I mean, little bitty ones like this. And in the processor, they just don't do well because they go crooked and they don't stay straight. It's just not good. So I'm gonna hand cut them. Not that much here. I don't know if I'll be able to get it all cut today, but we're gonna give it a shot. We're gonna put a hurting on it anyway. And then as I split it, I'm going to separate the species, because cherry I can sell separately, hickory for sure I can sell separately, and then oak I sell separately. And those are really my 3 kinds or species of wood that I can sell separately by themselves pretty easily, and that's what people want. Everything else goes into mixed hardwood or softwood, so that's what I'm gonna do. So we're gonna get cutting right now. I get a bunch of logs that are in the way of the rounds that are cut, I start getting to where I'm dancing around on them. I stop, set the saw down, chuck them out of the way. And I'm separating the hickory, the cherry, and the oak here. I'm throwing the oak off to the side, and then the other stuff behind me is the hickory, and then the cherry is off to the right-hand side. And once I get it cleared out, then I go back to cutting. And the small stuff like this, as you can see how tiny this is, it cuts so fast and easy with the saw. You know, and if I didn't have a processor, I would want a lot of this because it's so easy to handle. There's no back breaking, lifting, big, huge, monstrous, 20-inch rounds and things that are just hard to handle. It does take a little bit more time because you get a lot of wood out of a big round, but this little stuff sure is nice to handle. It's just easy to pick up and split. I mean, it's one time through the splitter and it's done, either with a single wedge or even a 4-way, but it's fun to cut because it feels like you're actually accomplishing so much. But realistically, I would say the best size, if I had to pick, would be about a 12-inch piece because you get quite a bit of wood from it, can still lift it without getting a hernia, and you can cut it fairly fast. This stuff just like cutting little bitty twigs, but it's nice, kind of fun. But yeah, you can see it looks like I'm not measuring, but I have the ties on the side. You can see a little pink hanging out on the left-hand side of the saw there by my leg. You can see it there, the twist, the zip ties, a little bit of pink on there. I eye that up as I'm going, and I don't check it with every single round that I cut. Quite often, I'll just look down to the side and look at the end of the log where I have cut and kind of eye it up, and I'm within an inch. It's not an issue if I have a 15-inch piece or if I have a 17-inch piece. Most of the time, I'm pretty darn close, probably within a half-inch either way. And then a lot of times, you get to the end of the log and you have to make a decision. Do you cut two 15s or two 14s, or do you cut a 16 and then have the next one be like a little 10 or 12 incher that is too small? So there's always that judgment that you got to kind of go with and decide what you want to do. If you want the pieces to be exactly the right size, so your stacks are exactly perfect. But I have never had a customer complain about a smaller piece. Usually like, oh geez, I like these small ones. The only time I've ever had them really complain is if they're too long. Because a lot of the people I deliver to are putting it in a rack in their garage along the side, and they don't want pieces sticking out. They have to worry about either hitting with the car door or running into it or tripping on it. You can see how windy it is. The wind is coming from my left, blowing towards the camera. It was like 40-mile-an-hour winds that day. It was just like a monsoon out there. It was kind of nice with the breeze going from left to right because all the sawdust just blew away. And for those of you that have cut in windy conditions, you know this. If you're cutting and the wind is at your back, that's the worst. Because what happens is you get that backdraft and the sawdust will whip around. Instead of blowing away from you, your body is creating a block. And what happens is all that sawdust goes right back into your face. So if you get wind in your face or from one side or the other, it's not bad, but if it's at your back, that's what's bad. So yeah, on this cherry, you can see here I'm cutting it. It cuts so easy. Oop, look at that. Oop, look at that. That happens. People say, oh, do you ever get kickback? Yep, all the time. You just got to be ready for it. You got to be hanging on. You got to really watch your tip and try to make sure that you're not going to have it kick back really hard on you. I go in real nice and gentle. It looks like I'm not, but you cut enough and you get used to it. Kind of know what the saw is going to do ahead of time, and yeah, so you just kind of keep whittling at it and cut the pieces as they're there to where you can judge and get them to fall down. And then once you get all of them cut that you can reach within reason, and make sure you got good footing, obviously. I always try to make one foot not movable. I just keep reaching and cutting and reaching and cutting, and then you get a whole bunch of them. I set the saw down, shut it off sometimes. Sometimes I take my chaps off, take my helmet off, take my earplugs out because I wear plugs and muffs, and give my my ears a little break from being, having the plugs and the muffs on there, and you're sweaty a lot of times. It's nice to kind of dry off, and then sometimes too it's nice to take the chaps off if it's a hot day and you can kind of cool off a little bit while you're chucking rounds out of the way. So Anyway, we're going to speed this up now. We're going to cut faster here. I'm just getting rid of rounds and trying to get the logs that are underneath that are buried. There's some little bitty tiny hickory sticks in there, and I'm going to try to line them up on my cant hook here and get them so they're all the same length on the ends, and then just cut them in bunches, which is what I'm doing right here. And that's kind of nice, but I find that if you try to get your logs to line up just perfectly, like put them in some type of a jig or a rack, and you got to handle them so darn much. If they're really nice straight ones like hickory's really a straight wood generally when you get it, and the bad thing is they roll around really easy because they're so round and so straight. But if you can line them up, that's great, and cut them all at once. But that's a lot of extra work, really, picking them up and moving them and lining them up. And a lot of people tell me, oh, you should put them all in a rack and cut them in bunches. Yeah, but I think it's a horse apiece. I don't know. You're basically fighting time no matter what, and you got to wrestle the logs either way. And so I don't know, but it works pretty good to do it this way. You just got to make sure you're lining them up nice on the ends so you can make nice even cuts. If you see those are pieces of hickory there, those little chunks there, just really straight wood. So I'm about to do some cutting here, and I thought it was worthy of talking about this. When I get to the end of the pile, the bottom of it here where I'm at the end, a lot of these pieces are resting on the cement. There's concrete underneath me there, and there's not that much sawdust, and it's real easy to have the saw slip a little bit, especially when you're standing on roller skates like that stuff right there. I try to get at least 1 foot solid to where I'm not having it roll around on me. I got good balance, but you don't really want to fall down when you're cutting. It's not good, or lose your balance and fall forward or something. But you can see where I'm cutting here. You got to be so careful to not hit the ground. It's not like you just hit a little bit of dirt or sand, where it's not a big deal, unless you hit a rock or something. But you hit that cement, you're done. So it's dull instantly, not just dull, but it's pretty much ruined. So yeah, I try to flip the pieces over so they're on top of another piece, so when I cut through, it's not an issue. But what I really want to talk about is what's underneath there. I'm going to dig these out now and throw some of the rounds out of the way, but if you look on the bottom there, that light colored stuff, that is a piece of red oak or a log that came in, and it was just shattered. I'm guessing it was probably something the barber chaired, it'd be my guess, because it was on a log, and I was going to put that in a processor, but my experience is you try to put that stuff in a processor, basically you might as well just jump in front of a car, because that stuff flies everywhere, and it's just like arrows coming out. And I'm trying to decide what to do here when I look at, like, what should I even do? See how that all fell apart? So I'm going to go to cut this here, and I should have just thrown it out. Watch when this stuff flies when you cut it. Look at that. Look at the pieces fly. I mean, if you're not wearing chaps, a helmet, eye protection, look at that, pieces flying backwards. Look, that's terrible stuff. It wasn't worth it either. And yeah, it's good kindling, and yeah, people are like, ooh, that's going to be nice for fire starters, but look at that. And then a piece got caught up in the chain there and sucked in. That is just some nasty stuff. I should have just thrown it out. So if you get this stuff, be very careful. Wear safety gear. Don't think you can get away with not wearing chaps, and probably want to wear a cup maybe. You could lose parts there. It could turn into something you don't want. But yeah, that's bad stuff. Look at that, how it just explodes. Yeah, in a processor, I tried a piece like that once, not thinking that it would be an issue, but as soon as it loses its grip with the clamp, that the pieces just fly everywhere. Very dangerous stuff. I got one good piece on this one right here, I think. Look at that. Ooh, one piece out of all that. And then I try to cut this, and it just explodes everywhere. This is terrible. So I'm about to go into warp drive here, just kind of fast forward through this, and you can see as I'm cutting, I kind of just work my way into the pile, and I kick pieces out of the way when they're away, and like I say, I try to get 1 foot solid, and then just cut away and chuck the pieces out of there. So there you go. Oak, hickory, cherry. So I've been separating as I've been cutting and moving the rounds out of the way as much as possible. So when I split, I'll have a pretty good idea that I've got what I want. So I'm going to split all this cherry, obviously, keep that separate, put it right into the trailer, and then I'll make a cherry bin. And then that oak over there, that'll get split and put right into the trailer, and then I'll make a oak bin, and then the hickory in between, I'll do the same for that. There's still some more here to go. There's still a lot of cherry in there, I see, and a little bit more oak. I don't see too much more hickory. I think I got most of the hickory out of there. And the friends are back. As soon as I shut the chainsaw off, they come out. They just don't like the saw too much, which is good because I don't want to cut a log and have a log fall down and kill one of them, and then everybody will be mad at me because it could happen. Even though the cats have 9 lives, you never know. So I just got a phone call. I was going to stay and cut till dark because there's still an hour of daylight left. I could have finished that pile. I went through 3 tanks, and I have to go. Something came up, something more important than wood. One of my kids stopped over, so I'm going to go visit for a while they're still there. So sorry about that. The kids are more important than the wood, but that's the way it is. So I'm coming back tomorrow, 5:30 a.m. I'm going to finish cutting that, and we're going to split all this and get this all cleaned up tomorrow. You're going to be here. Right now, you're going to go watch another video. There's over 1,000 on my channel. If you like this, there's better ones on my channel. If you just go look, check them out. Good night, Irene.